This conference will now be recorded.
All right. So good morning again, all of you. So today, the first workshop, we are going to talk about how to build an excellent career in embedded systems and IoT. Let me put it in the slide mode now. And as I told, my name is Jai Kumar. I'll introduce myself with more detail shortly. And I am one of the core members in Emerzi Information Technologies, and we are based out of Bangalore, right? So let us do an introduction. So Emerzi, some of you would have already came to know about this. We would have done some study also. So we have been in this particular industry for the past 17 plus years. We started in the year 2003. From the beginning, we have been having two areas of focus. We started off with education as our prime portfolio, and in the meantime, we also worked on some projects and some product building, mainly in the industrial IoT, agricultural IoT, retrofitting device development, etc. But over a period of time, we thought, our core strength and our passion lies in the education segment. So we continue to remain as an education finishing school. And we are the people who have work experience by working with various companies. Some of them are mentioned in the screen. And we are really passionate about skill building and ensuring that people get the right exposure. And after the pandemic, as it especially we felt, the digital medium like this, in form of a webinar, is much more suitable for all of us to reach each other rather than doing it as a physical, the workshops. So that's a kind of a model that we have been using so far. And as I told, we are really passionate about the skill building and the bridging the industry academia gap. And we are one of the institutes who are affiliated with National Skill Development Corporation, or NSDC. So basically, when I say NSDC, this is a Government of India, the central government driven initiative to skill the youth of this country in various skill areas. So we work with them in the electronics side, which comes under the sector skill council called Electronic Sector Skill Council of India, or ESSCA. So all our programs that we do with our trainings, right, mainly come from affiliated with the ESSCA. So that's about the brief about the company. And let me talk about myself. So that's me, even though I lost more hair than what is there in the photograph. So I graduated in BTech Computer Science from NIT Warangal. I saw some of you join from Warangal city. It was quite nice to hear that. So I joined in the year 2000. I completed in the year 2001, and then I started my career in a typical, embedded firmware engineer mode. For example, I started off with Ishoni Networks, which was a broadband-based device building company, where I primarily worked on the network protocols, both on the LAN side and the WAN side. So LAN side is what you connect your home laptop and phones to the device, and the WAN is what what the device eventually connects to the your telecom or internet service provider, what you call ISP. So that's what I primarily worked on. And after working for about 2 years, I quit Ishoni and went into HP. So in HP, as you know, makes a lot of devices and printers. So I joined the printer firmware group. In the printer firmware, I was mainly part of the inkjet printer firmware. And since my first company, I worked in networking. I continued in the networking side, or the connectivity side. Worked on various IO devices like Bluetooth, USB, networking protocols, Wi-Fi, and multiple layers are there, as when it comes to connectivity, which includes the what you call the device driver, the middleware, the application, etc. So we worked in all the layers. And after working there for about 7.5 years in HP, I quit and went into Huawei, which is a telecommunication company. Some of you would have heard the name for sure. So Huawei, then they were on an initiative to basically drive all their products to migrate to Linux, because Linux offers a lot of benefits in terms of open source, and it is being free, etc. some of the points we'll try to touch upon here, because you may want to know why Linux is widely used in embedded systems development, especially, right? And by the way, as we speak, the Linux usage is even become widely popular even in non-embedded, like for example today when you talk about cloud computing, or even when you talk about servers and storage, right? So mainly it talks about, it has got the Linux running in the background, right, as an operating system. So that's how I went about 3.5 years in Huawei. So overall 12.5 years I worked in all these three companies. After working there, the question comes is what next? So I worked in all the product development, and I was really passionate about the skill building side. So that's why I quit my corporate career, and then I joined Emerzi as one of the core member. And as you already know, Emerzi was more started by my friend, and then because of the passion, the common interest we had, so I joined Emerzi. So I've been in Emerzi from 2014 as a full-time core member for about 7 years now, and I really passionate about sharing the knowledge and also learning from each other. And believe me, whenever I deliver webinars, it's not only that I deliver something to you people. From the type of questions you ask, I also learn a lot. So it's a mutual learning process, even though the PPT remains the same. Your participation and your questions and the way how you make me think is what keeps me motivated. Otherwise, as I told, even we can share the recorded video to you, and then we can ask you to watch or share the PPT offline. So the main value of this workshop, or even tomorrow's workshop, is going to come from the interaction. So I would strongly recommend post any questions that you may have, even though that question might look like very silly or very basic. Don't need to feel shy. It's not a college classroom where I will criticize you for asking questions. In fact, I'm doing the reverse here. I would encourage you to ask as many questions as possible, right? So that's going to be the mechanism. So let us further get into the more about the presentation side now. So in the current situation, if you look at, right, especially the last 1 year, I would say, if you look at 2020 March, or rather Feb end March, is when the real the impact of the pandemic started hitting. And today as we sit in this 1 year later, if you look at especially last 2-3 days, things have been a little fluctuating, especially states like Maharashtra. Still the cases continue to basically increase. So there can be many queries that comes in your mind. I could see already a question coming from Gabbar Jadhav. Great, it's good to see your question, Gabbar. I'll answer it. Give me a few more time. And as and when you guys have a question, please feel free to post in the window. Okay, I could see a question coming from admin as well. So there can be some question here. For example, we are getting into recession. What about my future, right? And especially the reason why I asked you to type the city or the place where you joined from. Probably you're sitting in down south in Kerala. Some of you are sitting in Mumbai, right? So this could be one question where you are worried about, or your parents are really concerned about, right? And second thing, you may also hear in the media saying that a lot of job losses, people are losing their jobs, companies are doing layoffs, right? I'm a fresher, I don't have an experience, my campus interviews is not been so great. So what do I do about that, right? That could be another concern coming from. And other question, $1 million question, which none of us have a clear-cut answer, is when it is going to end, right? As we speak, I guess from March 1st, they're going to roll out the vaccine for senior citizens and people with some other ailments, right? So, but when do we really have a day? In fact, I'm longing for the day where at least I can go to a restaurant with my family in a comfortable state without my mask, right? And sit and and have a nice dinner and come back, right? So we really don't know when it's going to happen, right? And as I speak, I'm no different. Okay, I'm also going through the similar challenges what all of you are going through, right? But the question that the purpose of this workshop is not to focus on something on the left side, because it is there. It's beyond our control, right? All we can do is we can be responsible and follow the basic 3 rules what everybody is talking about, maintaining social distancing, or wearing a mask and stuff like that. That's what we can do. Beyond that, none of us can do much about it. But rather we can do a lot of things about your career, right? What can you do about it? All we need is a good internet connection and a good laptop or a desktop today, and we can do a lot with that, right? So we are going to talk more on that. And and when we look into that, mainly coming from a college or just finishing the engineering, many of you have this concern, or you have a lot of questions, right? Who can help me to clarify the question? There are a lot of confusion when you talk about the job market, or I have a lot of doubts, right? If you see, this workshop is mainly aimed for that. Okay, my idea is to clarify as many questions as possible, right? So this is probably 4 or 5 questions which is running in your mind. Okay, so let us go ahead and demystify this further. Okay. And if you look back in the history, right, the recession which has been caused in the past, right? If you see the year 2001, just when we finished my engineering, we had a major recession coming in the year 2001 because the 9/11 attack has happened, and a lot of telecom burst has happened in the US, because of which and there was a bubble called Y2K. I don't know how many of you remember that. Probably you guys were in the high school then, right? So basically it created a lot of job losses. But if you look at around 2001 is a timeline when almost all the product development companies, you name it, Intel, you call Cisco, Huawei, HP, GE, you name any of these bigger brand names, right? Qualcomm, they all started either opening up their India development centers, or if they already had a development center before 2001, they started growing big in that, right? Even companies like Texas Instruments, right? Cypress Semiconductors, tons of semiconductor companies. So what I mean to say is, like, every recession after that, it has always turned out to be favorable for a country like India. Okay, so that was one major benefit we had after 2001, right? Similarly, if you look at 2008, the Lehman Brothers, the lending crisis or the real estate crisis caused in the US, right? So that has resulted in more of an Indian entrepreneurial story, where companies like Flipkart and Swiggy got created. If you go back and see the timelines, right? That's what is the benefit we had. And as we sit, right, we are sitting in this particular COVID. We really don't know how things going to shape up in the future, right? We are in the still wait and watch mode. So I'm pretty positive that things will get better after this, because it will open up so many possibilities, right? So let us wait and watch for that. So that's how I would see every adversity that we are seeing. We can see that as a additional a window of opportunity, right? As I speak, if you look at this pandemic itself, right, just from an embedded system perspective, it is also given an opportunity to innovate, right? For example, I'll call out a few use cases here, right? For example, we talk about autonomous cars or self-driving cars. How can you ensure social distancing in an autonomous car, right? How can you ensure that people are sitting at appropriate gaps, etc.? In fact, this is one of the problem statement told in one of the webinars which I attended, right, as a learner. So I could see that. And similarly, if you look at the wearable devices, which was primarily used to measure your heart rate, or your Fitbit type of devices, or Apple smartwatch and all, it is taking altogether a new dimension, where can we do a predict something by looking into some of your basic parameters, or for that matter, using that, can we do a contact tracing, to whom and all this person has come in contact with. For example, we have Arogya Setu as an app in India, but companies are looking beyond that, where because it's not something we switch on and switch off the pandemic. It's going to be there for some more time. Hopefully it ends soon. That's all our wish. But I am telling you, this scenario is forcing us to innovate in these lines, right? In the similar aspect, if you look at the importance of robots, right? We are in a scenario where one human being cannot come closer to another, right? That's a big challenge that we are facing, right? But if you look at that, also led to a lot of importance for robotics, right? Where we can replace the human being with a robot. In fact, a couple of robotics companies which hire our students, our trained students in Emergy, I could see they're growing quite well. They invented much more variants of robots, not only in the areas of education, right? Even in the area like, for example, using in the restaurants, or even they're inventing whether, for example, a patient care in a COVID ward, instead of a frontline medical worker, can we replace it with a robot, right? So a lot of work happening in the robotics. So that's something we can watch out for. And very interestingly, as we speak, right before pandemic started, people kind of ruled out the whole networking and telecommunication industry. They thought, anyways, we are in the 4G. Companies are thinking the network, the what you call the network core in the company like Huawei and Cisco's. They thought, the networking industry is saturated. And if you see, after the pandemic, the whole way we work, we learn, we live has completely changed, right? And as I sit today, right, for the past almost a year, myself, and my team in Emergy is been working from home. I'm sure all of you would have experienced the same. You've been probably taking your classes from home, right? Not only you guys, right? I have a daughter who is studying in 6th standard. She's been taking almost the whole academic year online. So what it means, suppose you think about my home, where I'm working like this. I'm hosting this webinar for about 2 hours, like 1.5 hours or whatever. So there is a definitely a load on the network, right? And there is another person who is taking a class, live class. My daughter sitting in the other room, and probably my nephew was there sometime back who used to work from home. So imagine 3 people in a home working are simultaneously using the same internet connection, right? Think about the load that the network has going through, right? I'm sure pretty much it applies to all of you guys, right? So because of which the telecommunication and networking industry has gone through a huge shift. If you see last few years, companies, last 1 year, company like Airtel, right, has grown because the need for network has gone significantly up, right? And companies are already moving to 5G, and even companies like Airtel, who used to run a copper wire, the DSL wire to my home, now they're replacing with optical, right? So and then we are talking about triple play, where one cable comes to your home and I'm able to use it for my landline, my internet, and also for my set-top box. In fact, that's what I use at my home. I replace my copper wire with my optical now, so that in one wire I can do all the 3 things, right? So the point I'm trying to give my home as an example, I'm sure all of you can do that, is think about the impact that COVID has got on networking, right? And it's not going to change, right? Even tomorrow the world becomes 100% all right also, companies would definitely offer people to work from home, or even hybrid, what you call 2 days you work from home and 3 days you go to office. That's what I do now, and that's going to stay, right? So all of a sudden there is a huge a change that is sweeping the networking industry. And not only that, even that if you talk about the treatment devices, right, things like a low cost ventilators. In fact, last week, as I was talking about robotics, one of my college senior, and he's involved with a startup, right? They're involving a solution. They already deployed a solution in some of the hospitals in Bangalore, where they're doing a remote patient monitoring. For example, if you imagine there's a COVID ward where there are about a few patients are there. Even a person wearing all the personal protection equipment and going and meeting the patient also is risky, right? Okay, even though they're doing that, and we see good number of medicos have lost their life in the last 1 year. So they're just saying by installing cameras and other things can be monitored. Only on a very urgent basis you go near the patient, right? It's already been deployed. Hopefully we see more innovation coming in the medical equipment. The point I'm saying is, whatever the use cases I'm talking about here, 5, it may be even 50 or 500 as we speak. The core thinking that goes on here in all of them is nothing but embedded system and IoT. For example, when you talk about a remote patient monitoring, there is definitely a set of sensors involved, there is some devices involved, and you have an app or an interface like a web interface where you can monitor the patient from. So this is what you need to look at. So these are all use cases which I learned over the last 1 year by attending webinars, or even me going through some of the learnings, right? So which is altering the whole way of embedded systems, right? So which means to say what, as I told in the previous slide, there is a challenge and there is an opportunity also. So I would request all of you to look into the opportunity side rather than looking into the problem side. Problem side anyways is there. Neither you nor me can do much about that. Okay. So all right, I would like to pause here. Okay, let me talk about one more slide about placements, and then I'll come to the question slide. Okay? So this also means to say, what about placement? So what about the job market, right? I don't want to talk broadly about the whole industry, and how many jobs are lost. We are not an expert in that, but I can definitely talk from our institute's perspective, right? And this is the real numbers that I wanted to show you guys. So I also lead placements in Emergy. So last year, when the whole pandemic has hit, right, roughly around March, right, is when the placement started going down. Okay, we do about, when I say number, these are a number of placement drives that we do in Emerzi. If you see 2022 and 18, those many number of drives happen in Jan and Feb, right? Around March 15th, you can see a steady decline. March 15th, I would say almost all the companies who schedule interviews for our students, they did not honor that, and because the company themselves were kind of not sure how they're going to handle the situation. And April, I would say the situation has gone real worse when the whole lockdown got announced, right? None of us could even step out of our homes, right? So the placement also gone through. Only one drive has happened in April. But what I could see as a another subsequent thing, right? Around May, June, we started seeing improvement. When I say improvement, companies are today definitely hiring, especially for embedded people. I'll talk about it more in my subsequent slides. And even the mode of interview, whether it's a written test or interview, or even even releasing the offer letter and onboarding them and making them work from home, right? The complete thing now happening via online medium, right? So the point I'm trying to drive from this, these are all real numbers, okay? This is what we have gone through in the last 1 year, which I keep sharing with my students in Emerzi, also with my team in Emerzi, and of course when I do a external webinar also, because this gives a very realistic perspective. It's not something which is a flashy or something. There was a reality where April we got affected quite badly, but I could see significantly it has improved. We are kind of by the end of the year, if you see 20 drives we did, we kind of almost back to the original thing for how we were in Jan 2020. And 2021 we kind of done with 2 months now, right? We are closing in February. So I would say the number of drives are doing quite well. We are still maintaining that around that 18-20 kind of a drive has happened in Jan and Feb also. So the market is definitely looking upwards. You don't need to get concerned about whether do I have the necessary opportunity, will companies continue to hire embedded engineers. In fact, the reverse is true. Even today, good companies are finding it difficult to hire embedded engineers. That's a reality, okay? Because the embedded system is not or even IoT is not a domain where you can hire people just like that, right? People will need to learn things in the right way. We'll talk about it in the subsequent slides, right? So that's a reality. Okay. So all right, guys. So let me pause here before we get into subsequent discussions. I see there is a good number of questions that are there. So let me come on video, because while answering questions, it's better if I turn on my video so that you can see my face also, and then we can take some questions and then we can move on. Right. Hope you're able to view me. Little bit the lighting issue in my room. So let me take the question. There are a good number of questions that are already there. So Gabbar is the first one to ask. So she said, sir, you are CSE background, but why you chose embedded side? Okay. See, Gabbar, when we passed out in 2001, the story was very different. For example, the cloud computing or the application side of the development, which is more preferred by these days, was not there. In fact, those days it was really the core thing, or the what you call the hard technology was networking, right? So we people always wanted to get into a networking field. So that's what made me choose the embedded side, because anything else people used to call application, or what you guys call a core job versus IT job, right? In those days, the core job were more preferred by computer science people, because networking was the thing then. Like how today we talk about data science and artificial intelligence, right? Those days it was the thing. So from my college days, even my final year, my project was on networking. I was really interested in networking. That's the reason why I chose a networking company as my first job. Okay. So what is the scope of embedded systems in India? Admin is asking. There's a huge scope. Some portions I called out in the use cases slide that I mentioned previously. Okay. If you look at the embedded job market in India, statistically, by looking into various reports, we could see that there are roughly about 7 lakhs job opportunity. So let me repeat, there are about 7 lakhs job opportunity in India alone, right? Which involves mainly the embedded software development. Again, when I say embedded, people get confused between embedded software and embedded hardware. I'll clarify in my subsequent slides. There are about 7 lakhs embedded software job opportunities in India alone, right? And majority of these job opportunities come in 3 buckets. One is what you call the big companies. You name Qualcomm, NXP, Intel, who have their India offices. They are having opportunities. Second thing, there are a lot of these mid-sized companies, who have like probably 100 people, 200 people. So they hire embedded people. And third one is startups. Okay, especially when you look at startups these days, apart from some of the use cases that I shown, the EVs, right, the electric vehicles is a big deal, which is coming in a very big way in the world, across the world. And there are super good number of startups working on, especially on the battery area. If you look at the whole electric phenomena as translated from a mechanical, initially your car or a bike was more of a mechanical instrument you can call. Now you can call it's more of a electrical, electronics, and a computer science, right? That's how it is transforming. So that is opening up a huge opportunity. So what I would say, India is definitely going to have more role to play in the years to come. Not only because we are cheap and people can get a job done with lower cost than, for example, a country like America. You have a huge talent pool available in India. So I could see the opportunities are only going to grow in the coming years. Okay, hope that answers the question, admin. Then we have, can we choose embedded systems as your career choice? This is a question from Challa Sai Gauri. Definitely, Sai Gauri. So there are tons of opportunities available. And as I told you, let me repeat, companies are finding hard to hire good embedded system engineers, right? They can hire fresher, not a problem. Okay, in fact, in India we have about 15 lakhs engineers pass out every year, but skilled engineers. In fact, as I showed you in the slide itself says, right, we could see a very clear trend where the recruitment is picking up or picked up already, I would say, from May, June. Yes, there was a slump, right? And not only that, once you join the embedded system as your career, you can pursue that for next 25-30 years, right? It's not that it's going to go away and then if you see, networking has not already, when I mentioned example, right, because the first question was related to that, we just thought networking was getting saturated, but if you see, all of a sudden it has picked up big time, right? So definitely it's a very good choice for all of you, which you can definitely have a career in it. Okay, hope that clarifies. And you have Rakesh. Rakesh says, I'm practically from EEE branch. Can we choose embedded system designer as our career? What type of opportunities did we get? So Rakesh, as I told you, when we talk about embedded systems, there are two areas. One is the hardware side and then the software side. Our expertise and my knowledge more come from the software side. As long as you are from the circuit branch, either you are in electrical, electronics, and there is also a question which I saw, somebody is asking from mechatronics, right? So definitely you guys should consider this as definitely a good career path, right? Because even if you don't have some of the skill set which I talk about in my subsequent slides, you can acquire them and then get into that. Rather than getting into IT based job, you can consider this as your career option. Okay? Then we have Saikat. He's asking, sir, I'm not strong in coding. Am I fit for this course? Okay. So Saikat's query is more about our course which we do. So when you talk about our course, always ask students asking this question, sir, should I learn and come, right? I tell them you come here and learn, right? So there is absolutely no background required as long as you are ready to learn. And very important thing, you should be prepared to work hard, okay? Because getting a skill set in embedded system, it's not easy. It's not going to happen overnight, right? You need to be prepared to work at least 6 hours a day minimum. Then only you can build your skill set. Okay. So if you are scared of programming, or I have not done much programming in my college, or all my C programming is about writing some Fibonacci series and star triangle printing, which I by-hearted, we are absolutely fine with that. No issue at all. But you should be having the willingness to work. In fact, if you see, 90% of our students come from your background only. They have a lot of self-confidence, self-doubt. They have a lot of insecure feeling because what will happen after, because 4 years of your engineering has not given the result what you have really expected, right? In such scenarios, how come they can have a good career, right? So that's for such kind of scenarios, exist, in which we already seen with my so many students, so many thousands of students. So definitely you can give it a shot, no problem. Okay. So somebody is saying not audible. I hope I am audible, guys. Okay. And there was a question from Navanita Subramanian is asking, what is the opportunity for mechatronics stream? So Navanita, mechatronics students, I would say it's a very good stream because you also have some idea about the mechanical aspect. Okay? If you look at, especially when you talk about Internet of Things, when I say things, it's about basically making everything intelligent, right? Whether you talk about that's why you guys use the word called smart, right? We talk about, like, say, smart meter or smart what do you call it? Smart street light or smart phone. In fact, smartphone is already there. Smarter wearable device, right? And especially when you look at the specific part which I mentioned about the EV, the electric vehicle industry, right? Where having a mechatronics background will help you, because you know the mechanical side, some amount of the core mechanical concept, and also the electronics part. In fact, that's where the whole world is progressing. So mechatronics guys, in fact, I see in the recent past, people who join our course, they also come from mechatronics branch. So definitely that is something which you can explore for. Okay, it's a good for mechatronics engineers. This IoT has opened up more possibilities, I would say, rather than, I would say, of course, the ECEEE guys are there. Mechatronics guys can definitely look into it, right? Then Jayesh is asking, sir, is there any opportunity for freshers? What is the package for freshers? So Jayesh, definitely there are a lot of opportunity for freshers. If you see the slide that I put in, all the drives, that is what we did in our institute, it is mainly for freshers only. And the salary depends. Okay, I would say you can roughly assume, sorry, you can start around, let us say, 2.4 lakhs, and the highest package goes all the way up to around 15-16 lakhs, right? And if you want more specific statistics, you can go to our website and check, because some companies are in the 2 to 3 lakhs kind of a bucket. Some are in the 5 to 6 lakhs. For example, Honeywell type of companies who offer around 5 to 6 lakhs. And we have companies like Qualcomm, who offer about 14-15 lakhs type of a package for freshers. So it depends on the company. You can take a further look into it, right? Then Vaishnavi is asking, sir, may I know the difference between embedded advanced and embedded IoT? So I'm so confused choosing either of those. Very good question, Vaishnavi. Just hold on to that question. I have some slides in the later part of the presentation, because this even at least embedded, when I say, people are clear. Okay, I'm sure all of you are very clear about that. But when you use the word IoT, people are not clear, because there are so many things come in between, and everybody talking in their own way about IoT, right? So definitely there need to be something which need to be clarified. So I'll do it in the subsequent slide, Vaishnavi. Okay, give me some time. Sir, VLSI or embedded, which field is better for an EC student, right? So as I told you, when you talk about electronics as an industry, right, I'll show some more statistics also. You can categorize into two, right? One is the hardware side and another is the software side. Okay? So when you say hardware, that is where these things come into picture. One is the chip design, which is nothing but your VLSI kind of a skill set come into picture. And then you talk about the software part of it, right? Which is what we call it as a firmware and embedded software. So you have opportunity into two major areas, right? So if you look at VLSI, which I don't have much idea, but what I can say is that VLSI also a very good opportunity, where the number of jobs are less. If you look at the number of VLSI engineers opportunity, it is number of jobs are less, but as time progresses, the salaries are very high in VLSI. Okay, if you look at it as a pyramid, right? VLSI guys are the ones who are always paid on top, okay, because it's very hard to get that skill set. On the contrary, if you look at the embedded software side, where the number of job opportunities are more, but the salary is in a range, right? As I told, right, it's a entry level fresher. I shared some numbers, right? So it's up to your interest. If you're really keen in getting into the nitty-gritties of the hardware, and you're really interested in the board design, chip design kind of field, you can go for VLSI. Or if you wanted to have more programming, more logic kind of a thing, you can choose the embedded software. So I would say the choice is yours. If you ask me, can I choose between the two? I would say it's very hard choice for me, because both offer very good opportunities, right? It's about you, what you wanted to have your career in. Okay? So do embedded engineers require to be strong both in software and hardware domain? Pramod is asking. Again, the question goes back to the previous answer. See, if you are focusing on a hardware job, then you are really need to be good in hardware, right? All your what do you call your Verilog and your analog, digital, it's completely a hardware job, right? But when you are looking at it as a software job, embedded software job, you need to know programming and you need to have some exposure about the hardware. For example, when I say exposure about hardware, you need to know how to read the data sheets, right? You need to understand what and how an interrupt works, right? And you need to know how the the bitwise operator memory management in C programming, right? So these type of skills are very important. So that's why embedded system for a suppose imagine a guy coming from a mechanical engineering, right? A mechanical engineering student can easily fit into a job like a TCS job because it only involves programming. There is absolutely no hardware there. For example, a web programming. In fact, we in our place also we do teach some aspect of web application programming. For that course, we say any branch welcome. Even if you're a civil engineer, you can become a web programmer. But when you talk about an embedded system as such, right, it's not only about programming. You also need to have some idea about hardware. Some of the core skills which I mentioned, like for example, optimization, reading data sheets, getting an idea about how to do debugging, right? These type of skills where you are debugging on a hardware, you are not debugging on a browser. I hope you are getting the difference. When I write a HTML page, I'm writing an application and then I'm running it in a browser. But whereas you are writing an embedded application, you are running in a hardware, right? So there's a huge difference in between how you write these two programs and how you debug these programs. That's where embedded is more suitable for people from ECE, EEE, or even CSC myself, right? And even mechatronics, where you have some flair about hardware, right? So it's definitely a good choice for these type of students, rather than choosing a pure IT job where you're running everything in a PC. There's a huge difference between that. Okay, hope that's clear. So then there is a idea. Then Shaikat is again asking, so which computer language know to start this course? Basically, I'm electronics and communication engineer, and my interest is in core. I'm not strong in coding. So as I told Shaikat, when you talk about our course, or even in general, people ask me, sir, which programming language I should learn? I will always tell one answer: learn C programming well. Okay. When I say C programming well, not again about your Fibonacci series and printing number triangle. It's about really getting into the core of C programming, which is about pointers, memory management, optimization techniques, bitwise operators, using the user-defined structures, right? When you say pointers, half of you will run away, right? Okay, so that is the area which you should focus on. If you really can be good in that, whether you come to our institute and learn or you are learning on your own, that's choice is up to you. Okay, I'm not telling anything about our institute more, right? I'm talking about a career building. But what I would say is that as long as you are good in that, any company will hire you. And learn one programming language. Often this last webinar, it became a huge discussion where people had a question about, sir, how many programming language I should learn? Because there is always a thing going on. If you look at the older way of learning computer science, they'll say, learn C, C++, Java, Python, PHP. I said, no, okay, we are not in that world anymore. Even when you are today, when I talk about people, who are having career in data science, they say learn one language, learn Python well, that's good enough. Similarly, for an embedded system programmer, I would say learn C programming very well, that is more than enough. If required in worst case, learn a bit of C++, that's enough, not more than 2. I would definitely not recommend that. Okay. Then we have again Praful is asking, sir, will embedded system career have a demand in future? Yes, Praful, I already told. Okay, there are roughly about 7 lakhs job opportunities. It is going to go more because the consumer devices, the enterprise devices are, as I told, Internet of Things is about, they're talking about having about 3 billion devices. Okay, and every device is nothing but what? Embedded system. So you can think of something like that. As long as devices are going to be there in this world, embedded systems will be there. Okay, and right, devices are only increasing. So you don't have to. The question is not about will embedded system will remain. That question is very obvious. Yes, it will remain as long as probably you guys can have a wonderful career the next 40 years, right? 30, 40 years. But the question you should ask is, how can I get in? I would say that would be a better way to put it across. You don't need to worry about is enough opportunities are there and all, right? That's why I put the slide also as a use case or a case study from our institute last year, right? Even during last year, where people came and told us, what, no jobs are not there. Especially I'm talking about a fresher job. I'm not talking about experienced area, right? Even in a fresher job market, we could see a significant improvement in hiring, right? In the pandemic, peak of pandemic, right? And as I speak, companies continue to hire. Yesterday and today, I think we had about some 5-6 companies, hiring in our institute, right? So definitely opportunities are there. Okay. Then we have Vignesh. So I'm in EEE 2017. Experience 2 years in manufacturing. Now I am learning in embedded system in software domain. What type of opportunities can embedded? So Vignesh, this is again a typical question about ERA passout. Okay, when you talk about ERA passout, irrespective of your previous experience, whether you are from manufacturing, or some of you might have experience in, let us say, marketing and sales, or from an IT job. I have my students who got a job in Cognizant, worked there for 1 year, 2 years, then they quit and come and join our course, right? So the point is, irrespective of your background experience, you are targeting the entry-level jobs in embedded, because when you're joining embedded, you are going to join as a entry level. Even though some companies do consider your previous experience, okay, you can very well be considered as an entry level engineer only, right? But what is important, rather than your era pass out, focus on your skill part, right? Companies don't bother about era pass out as long as you have the right skills. Anyway, that will be my second part of my discussion as we move forward, right? In fact, some students even may be thinking, especially 2020, right? 2020 was an amazing, different year, right? Where instead of passing out in the year of June, I'm sure a good number of you in the webinar now, you would have completed your course in September, October, right? And they're telling, sir, it's already February. In another 2-3 months, my juniors will come in. So this will always be happening. You cannot stop a new batch passing out and older batch people are looking for it. All I'm telling is, whether you are 17, 20, or 21, or even 22, all that matters is, do you have the right skill? If you have the right skill, you can get a job. In fact, I have a case where, in the last 2-3 months back, a 2014 pass out student has got a job through us, right? It's about having the right skill set, nothing else. Okay. So then, sir, Ria is asking questions. Sir, my one question, I have done BTech Electronics. My passing year is 2015. I was working in another job, but I'm fresher, my core branch. So my question is, can I get transfer interview? Yes, Ria, the question is exactly what I answered for Vignesh, the previous question, right? So at least if you talk about Emergy, right, I would any day say companies come to us and hire our students not because somebody is a 2019 pass out or 2020 pass out. If they wanted to do, they can come back to your college and hire. Now, why they come to us? They come to us because they get a trained set of people in a particular skill area, right? So not only the era pass out, even for that matter, your percentage, because I'm sure that question also maybe there in the down. Somebody will say, I'm a 65%, I'm a 70%, or I'm a 61%, right? I tell all of you very simple answer. You need to absolutely not bother about your era pass out or your percentage. Only requirement, at least if you talk about Emergy is concerned, you should be above 60, because majority of the companies would expect at least a first class. Okay, as long as you have that, it should be fine. Okay, yes, if you look at from a placement point of view, in fact last week we started a batch. Exactly, Ria's probably a good friend of Ria could be, right? Same 2015 student. She did not leave me. She had about half an hour discussion with me, asking the same question. So I told her the answer that even if you look at our type of company, whatever I'm putting, 22, 18, etc. Some of them, especially the bigger ones, they may put some stringent criteria saying that no 20, 70%, no arrears in your college, etc., etc. Because bigger companies, they have criteria. But what I'm telling is, there are a lot of these mid-size and startups companies who come and tell us, what, era password doesn't matter for me. In fact, if you ask me, it actually doesn't matter. And even if you see a 65% in university A and a 70% in university B, there is no correlation, because the evaluation mechanisms are different. In one university, scoring 70 is easy, whereas in another university, scoring 65 is tough. We have all sort of equations in India, right? So my point is, please take this thing out of your mind, saying that I'm at 6, 17, 18, 20, or I'm a 61, 65, or 70. You focus on skill building, opportunities will come to your door and knock you. And I'm telling you, I'm telling you this very specific data point of one student. Okay. In fact, many, I'm telling you one example, recent past, who worked as a lecturer for about 6 years. 2014, he finished his education. He worked as a lecturer for 6 to 7 years. Then he quit his job and came and joined our physical classroom, because anyway, some are in online, some are in physical these days, right? He could get a job. But the point is, when he came and he worked, when he joined our course, he worked hard. That's what my point is, right? As long as you have a right mindset to work hard, people are seeing results. So no need to worry about that. Okay. What do you think is a prerequisite of embedded hardware? Jeevan, to be very honest, I don't have much opinion about hardware, much idea about hardware, because our focus mainly is on the software side, embedded software side. So I don't think I may be the right person to answer that. Okay. what would be the good approach or path to become a good embedded engineer? What should we start with and which things to be focused on? Haresh is asking. Harsh Magnani, right? Harsh, give me some time. I have few things to share in it because we're not gone to skill part, right? We are still in the market or jobs. We're still majority of the question coming from the job side. I'll talk about my skill side. I'm sure it will get answered. If not, we can still take it up later. Okay? Let me take some water. So then we have, I think Vaishnavi, sir, may I know the difference between embedded advanced and embedded ITT? So I'm confused. I think I'll clarify that, Vaishnavi. Give me a few minutes. Then we have Sunil who is asking, sir, what are the prerequisites for embedded system and for embedded development, right? I would say prerequisite wise, if anybody want to have a career, okay, I would say three things, right? One, you should be good in problem solving. Okay, problem solving includes writing algorithms, or rather having the basic problem solving aptitude. Because many of you wonder why companies asking for an aptitude question for an embedded engineer job, right? It's always a debatable thing. People come and ask me. It's not to test whether you know the mathematics or not, right? In fact, good amount of our entrance test is based on all this mathematics. The idea is checking your mathematical ability is a fundamental thing because do you have the aptitude to solve problems? One. Second thing, as I already told, learn one programming language very well. Okay, and I would strongly recommend C. Third thing, okay, have some flair about any one hardware. Okay, I would say do not go for Arduino. Okay, because Arduino is again you use APIs and then you don't get into the low level details. Take something which is really exposing you to the hardware. In fact, there was also a question about hardware in the previous question, right? For example, in our place, we don't recommend Arduino much, right? Because we take the PIC. Because the reason why we do PIC, because using when you say PIC doesn't give you APIs like Arduino, where you include a header file and say LED on, it blinks, right? LED off, it switches off. It doesn't work like that. You need to really get into the low level thing. You need to understand the board schematics. You need to understand the data sheets. Then only you need to code. So that's where you are really exercising your thinking ability, right? Often people come and ask, right, should you make things easy or should you make things hard? Okay, I would say always by making things hard, we learn. Okay, I'm sure all of you will agree with me. When you look back in your school, in your 10th class or in your +2, the teacher who's been very strict with you, and that particular time probably would have cursed the teacher and even you would have done something against the teacher. When you look back after 6 years, 7 years, right, you are eternally thankful to them because that hardness is what made you learn, right? The same approach goes here. And you can very well take Arduino and then make an easy learning out of it, but that will not take you far. Learn in the hard way, that will come longer for you. Okay, so three things: problem solving, one programming language, any one hardware. Don't go board centric. People come and ask me, so should I go for Raspberry Pi or should I go for anything else, right? Do not go board centric. I would say anything that will exercise you to go deeper into the hardware and understand the low level details. Pick that hardware. Write some good projects. So that should be good enough, right? Then we have. I am interested in embedded system, want to go to core companies, same, but my college do not provide core companies placement opportunity placements. He is applying off campus EC. There is a question from Krati Sabre. So the reason why that happens, Krati, is that as I already told, embedded systems requires a specific skill. Okay, if you look at the majority of the hiring happens today, your Infosys and TCS and Wipro, all they need is an engineer. Okay, and I don't that's not wrong because we have a lot of people getting jobs because of such companies, right? They can take a civil engineer, they can train and make them do the work they want, absolutely fine. But the reason why majority of the companies don't come to colleges like yours, I don't know which college you are from, it is because they don't get the skill. Okay, so the idea is you get the appropriate skill, you apply, I would say, even offline via the job portal or whatever, and I'm sure when you get an opportunity, you'll be able to crack it. The question is about the skill. It's not about whether the college or something. Even companies, when I talk to, they come and tell, we are not looking for somebody from a top-notch college or some college, right? Whether the person is having the necessary skill set. Work on your skill set, things will come on your own. Okay, that would be my answer. Then Navanitam is asking, placement eligibility test contains what? Aptitude question or only coding related? I don't know which placement eligibility test, Navanitam, you are talking about. I think you are talking about generally about the companies, right? In companies, when you send for our students for placement, they do both. They ask the basic aptitude. The reason also I told, why company check for basic aptitude? It's about basically, checking your problem solving ability. So that they will definitely check, and then they'll check your core set. Okay, what I mentioned, like both they will check. So Surya is asking, sir, I'm a 2018 pass out. Am I eligible for placement? I have no work experience. Absolutely fine, Surya, no problem. Okay, as I already told you, we talked about 17 pass out, 15 pass out, right? So no issues. So then we have Vikram. So I'm MTech 2017 pass out. I have experience in developing academic project in embedded system. Can you choose embedded as my career? Yes, Vikram, definitely you can choose. Especially if you've done an MTech, you have all the more reason to be doing a specialized job, right? I'm sure your MTech would be in the field of related to embedded. So you have all the reason to choose that. So go ahead. Okay. So how can they consider me whether I'm a fresher or experienced? So I already answered this question. Let me repeat. See, when you have some work experience, right? That work experience, how much they will consider when they are hiring you? First of all, as I already told you, they are hiring for an entry level engineer. So I'm not using the word fresher here, right? Okay. Fresher means a guy who just passed out. I'm talking about the entry level job, right? Entry level means what? Whatever is the as far as the company's control, entry level job. Here you can be a pure fresher with just a 2020 pass out and you did some skill improvement and gone, or you may be a 17, 18, 15, whatever some of you are mentioning here, and you go. So now that 2 year, 3 year, whatever you have done, right? That one, whether the company will consider as zero or some company will consider half. Whether they consider, definitely they will not consider full. Suppose somebody is working on, let us say, academic project development, or somebody working in a non-IT for 3 years, let us say, sorry, an IT for 3 years. When they switch to embedded, definitely they will not equate to 3. It depends on company, but all I would say is that do not bother much about that. Rather, if your interest is really in core field, you try to get into the core job first. Okay. That itself, I would say, is a big challenge. Do not bother about your previous work experience, right? Then once you get in, maybe when you again switch to another job after, like say, 4 year, 5 years working for your first company in embedded, that time probably you can get some mileage out of it. Okay. So consideration wise, it purely depends on company. There is no one standard answer for how my previous non-embedded experience would be counted. There is no straightforward answer for that. It depends on the company. In fact, I do have a specific case where 2 of my students attended the same company. One was just out of college, did our course and went. Another student had a call center experience, right? Call center, right? He used to work in the morning and used to come and attend our late evening classes, right? So what the company did, he is having some 4-year experience or something. He considered that as a probably 1-year experience, and they also gave a slightly higher package for this experienced person. Again, that's not a common phenomenon. It depends on the company and the recruiting person and their policy, right? Okay. So then there is a question from how can I, whether I'm a fresher experienced? Vikram, Ria, I think I answered your question, right? Regarding your year of pass out. So Vikram is asking, can I expect placement from your institute? If you provide the placement, I will definitely join as early as possible. So Vikram, yes, definitely we do give placement. That's what I talked about in the beginning, right? So we have a very simple and a very effective placement policy where we tell your year pass out, your percentage doesn't matter. Whether you're 15, 17, 18, 20 or 21. In fact, you'll be really surprised if I say we have some students who are, especially the online students, they will be passing out in the year 2022, right? In fact, they're doing in their course in their second year or late second year itself, right? We tell nothing matters to us. You come and you focus on the skill set building, and as far as placement policy is concerned, we provide placement support 1 year after course completion. Suppose you come and join, let us say March, right? You complete your course in, let us say March, April, May, June, July, August, right? August 2021, you complete your course, and we'll give you placement support until August 2022, 1 more year, right? And you can start applying for placement from 3rd month. So roughly we give you about 15 months of placement support, and as long as you are regular to the classes and doing your assignments, 15 months is too much. Yeah, okay, people get jobs way before that. Okay, so there is no issue about that. Okay, and not only, even if you're not coming to our course, okay, joining our institute, I'm not telling to do that. That's not my intention of this webinar. Also, people should come out of this idea of ERA pass out and your percentage, etc. Maybe that's where most of these questions are coming from. You focus on your skill set. I'll talk about the skill. We're not gone to the skill set yet, right? Definitely you can have a career. Then there is a question. Then Gabbar, sorry. And then there is okay, Sujit, sorry. So this is, I am not a fresher. I'm a 2019 pass out, and I've been in web development for 1 year. But I realized that that's not my domain. I'm meant to be. I've always wanted to work in embedded domain as my core is electronics. But I fear this gap will be a problem of getting placed in embedded as a fresher. No, Sujit, at least as far as our institute is concerned, I clarified it multiple times. It's not going to be, right? Then we have Amit. Sir, what is the change to get place? What is the chance, I think, to get place if he has less? I don't know. Amit, are you referring to percentage? Your question is not clear. Then Gabbar is asking, sir, is there having more requirement in drive for fresher in VLSI or embedded? I think I already clarified that, Gabbar. More jobs are there in embedded, less jobs are there in VLSI. But the average salary of a VLSI is high than embedded. Okay, if you look at, for example, and VLSI engineer, I don't have a benchmark numbers yet, okay, but at least they can, even if you're a fresher, they are ready to pay about easily 6 lakh rupees. That is not the case with embedded, but more number of jobs are there in embedded. So the choice is yours. I think I already clarified that. Then Amit, okay, I think Amit's question is clear now. So what is the chance to get place if percentage is less than 60? So Amit, the chances are relatively less, as I already told you. Because companies do expect at least a first class degree. Okay, but having said that, at least as far as our institute is concerned, right? As I already told, a good number of startups and mid-sized companies hire, where they come and tell, no ERA password and no percentage criteria. Anybody can apply. Okay, and then they select. But the challenge here is, sorry, let me take some more water. The challenge here is, suppose, let us say, I'm the interviewer, right? I'm going to interview you, Amit, and then let us say I have Gabbar, right? 2 people are attending my interview. So Amit comes and tells, sir, I'm a 55% in my engineering, and Gabbar comes and tells me, sir, I'm a 65%, right? 2 people are there. So what is the message you are giving me? Gabbar is saying, sir, I am academic better than Amit. That's the message you are giving me. But when it interview both of you, what convincing point that I have? Because Amit has already scored there. He's already +1 because he's having 10% more than you, right? Then, sorry, more than Amit. Now, when you improve 10 projects rather than, asking for a job, then you will score well. So it's not that people less than 60 cannot get job. In fact, in our institute only, even though we don't commit on our placement policy, we tell wherever there's no ERA password coming, you can apply for such jobs. And people less than 60% do get jobs. But the point is, they do much. They really need to work much harder. Okay? Because you need to understand, when you are telling me, sir, I'm a less than 60%. Okay, they talk something about you due to some reason, whether you are not focused on studies, or you're not interested, you got into some habits, or you had some personal problem, whatever could be the reason, you're indirectly telling me that those 4 years I did nothing. That's the reason why you are at less than 60, right? So it's not easy to cover up. But if you work hard and improve more in terms of your projects, and if your resume talk louder, definitely you can get a job. Okay, people do get job who are less than 60 also. It's not impossible, but you really need to work harder than folks, because you'll be competing for the even 5%. The same thing applies to 2017 versus 20, right? What is the convincing reason you need to tell me so that I'll hire you than a 2020 guy, right, or a girl, right? It's up to you. The point is, only reason is building the right set of skills and projects. Then we have Ayush, how to get job in embedded system off campus. So Ayush, I don't have much idea about off campus. I guess a lot of portals and walk-ins are available. That would be my generic suggestion. I don't know specific about offline parts, because offline thing also keep changing. There are companies who consider who are having higher score in, for example, AMCAT or e-litmus kind of portals. Okay, you can consider trying, or a HackerRank type of portals. You can try those as well. If your rank is higher, companies may shortlist some of the students also. Okay. Then Raja is asking, is Linux important? Very important, Raja. Okay, especially in the domain of embedded systems. Let me talk a few points about Linux here, since the question has come up. Okay, so Linux is widely used in embedded system because of many reasons, right? I'll just tell you 3-4 reasons to think about. One is Linux is free. You don't need to pay any licensing cost to anybody if you are building a device based on Linux. If you look back, right? I talked about 2001. Where when I passed out, our first device when we built the home router device, right? So we used to work on an operating system called VxWorks. So VxWorks, whenever I am buying from, I need to buy that first of all license, and whenever I am manufacturing devices based on VxWorks, I need to pay a royalty, or I need to pay a fee to the the VxWorks company. Imagine embedded systems are something like manufacturing millions, right? Let us say, for example, Xiaomi, right, or MI. MI will manufacture, let us say, 10 million devices, or let us say 5 million devices. Even if you're saying 1 rupee per device, it's going to be huge, right? So first and foremost is Linux. In terms of Linux, you don't need to pay any royalty. That is a huge cost advantage. But not only the cost advantage, there is also another advantage. For example, Linux is very secure. You not have heard antivirus for Linux, right? Okay. Antivirus is always for Windows. Linux is very secure. So you can build really, really secure systems. For example, especially our personal devices, right? Getting hacked, etc. Right? You can do much better than that. Third one, Linux is customizable because it's open source. All the source code is available in public. You can take the Linux is like an elastic. You can make it look small, or you can make it really big, right? Depending on your hardware. That's the reason why Linux runs in watches. Linux can run in your phone. Android, I'm sure all of you would know, Android is fundamentally Linux kernel that powers Android, right? And Linux can run in a PC. Linux can run in a supercomputer. Linux can run in a cloud computing server also. The reason is Linux is customizable, right? So open source, free, secure, customizable. So these are all the reasons why, if you look at the embedded systems market as such, right, more than 80% of the devices today run Linux. Okay, so it's very important skill to have. Okay. So then again, Ria is asking 65. Ria, I think you're again and again coming back to the percentage and era password. I'm telling you, please take it out of your mind. Okay, focus on your skills, you'll get job. As simple as that. So Raja is asking, is embedded system to have service oriented companies, and if there are, how to avoid not get to that? And Linux is important. See, again, do not get into this service or a product company. Okay, again, that's a huge topic that is widely debated. Service or a product is a more of a business model. Okay, some company is manufacturing a device. For example, you take Qualcomm, whether it's a product company, or you can come and tell Wipro, it's a service company, right? So according to you, at least at an entry level person, it will not matter. What matters to you, either you went into a Qualcomm or when you go to Wipro, what work you do. Okay, in fact, Wipro has got a huge team working in embedded systems, huge team working in VLSI, thousands of people work there. Okay, so do not snub a company just because it is a service.
Sir, sound will not come.
Sir, you've been muted, sir.
In embedded, for embedded. Okay, in fact, they work on medical devices. In fact, they have huge L&T Mysore office where good number of our students are working, right? They have a huge work happening in the embedded side. Okay, in fact, L&T also does construction, you know that, right? So don't go by service, product, mid-size, startup, big, small, etc. Don't go get into that. What matters to you is that, are you doing an embedded engineer's role? That's what matters. So please focus on that. So then, not audible. Okay, guys, I don't know. Hope I am audible now. Okay, because there are some phone calls which I come, because audio I'm using my phone. The voice quality is better there. maybe because of that.
Anyhow, sir, you
Okay,
muted.
sorry. Okay, so then we have Aradhana. Aradhana says, sir, they say embedded career, once you enter, they need to be updated with technology every now and then, and each growing year. Can you tell more about this, right? So Aradhana, that applies to any technology industry. Okay, for example, technology keep changing. Okay? Where even when you get into a service company or a product company or a big company, small company, every year technology evolves. When I say Linux, Linux itself is evolving. Okay, so whether you get into any job, okay, you consider yourself as a student. I don't know whether you heard my statement when I started the webinar. I still consider myself as a student even when I come to webinar. As I told, it's not that I'm giving something to you guys. I'm learning from. I learn a lot from every webinar. Believe me. Okay. When I do the same webinar, right? Same topic, same slide, but I learn a lot. The reason is there is always something new to learn, right? So the idea is you need to have the mindset to learn, irrespective of whether it is embedded, IoT, any even application development. Things changing fast. Talk about web programming, right? Earlier, people are using PHP, people are using .NET. Now people are talking about what? People are talking about, let us say, Node.js, Express.js, right? Python, from nowhere, it has become a mainstream phenomenon ever since the data science has taken over, right? So things keep changing. Even though Python was invented more than 30 years back, right? All of a sudden, everybody talks about Python, right? So things keep changing. You need to have the learning mindset that applies to embedded system as well. In fact, the more learners mindset that you have, you can do better in your career because you can always grow. The classic example I want to relate is, the book written by Satya Nadella, where he talks about growth mindset. Growth mindset means what? You keep learning. In fact, he himself says he became the CEO of Microsoft because he's having this mindset of, things can be learned. So, right? You guys need to, if Satya Nadella can do, why not we, right? We are far more younger, far more smaller people. So learning mindset is something you should always have. Even if you get a job, tomorrow you get a 15 lakh worth of job, I'm very happy with that. But don't stop learning. Okay. Is there hardware in IoT domain? Let me give you some time, guys. IoT will come shortly. Okay. And then we have course is providing online and offline, but both interview is online possible. I'm from West Bengal. To stay in Bangalore, it is too much expensive for me. Saikat, I think it's a very good question. Okay. In fact, let me also spend some time about this learning online versus learning in classroom. This is again a hugely debated topic. In fact, we do that internally to our team also. If you ask me, last year, the similar time in the slide which you see, right, when the March timeline, the whole lockdown has happened. I'd like to share some instances here so that we all can get the learning and get motivated from this example, right? There are about 350, 400 students who are studying in our institute. We have about a 4-floor building in MG Road. Okay, and overnight they were all asked to go home. Okay, because the hostel owners, the PG paying guest owners in Bangalore, they said, go home, because it's crowded and you may spread the pandemic, etc. And within a few days, they were all back to their hometown, like how you are now, right? You are in West Bengal, some of you are in Mumbai, some of you are in, Kerala somewhere, right? And even now, when you are doing that, you are really scared to step out. As you see everyday news, it gives you more tension, right? In fact, we also had the scare saying that, immediately our mentors adapted to the online mode of teaching, and that learning went well, But we always had a question: is it something like somebody should learn online, especially a topic like embedded system, by the way? Okay, I'm not talking about a web programming, right? Is it learning online is good? Or even by learning online, can somebody get a job? Okay, that was a big question in March, April timeline. But I can confidently say today, like how I told you about the percentage and era password, etc., it doesn't matter. Okay, today I have classic example to show. Let me tell you one use case. I will not take a name of the student here. He was a 2017 pass out, worked in L&T civil construction industry for 3.5 years. He joined our online course, sitting in his home in Kerala, got a 14 lakh job in Qualcomm. It's all possible. Okay. So even today, as I speak, more than 90% of the placement drives, especially after the March-April timeline, right? It all happens through online only. Okay. Very few companies are there who are got back to the mode of asking a student to come to a company and then do the interview. Okay, because even to do that interview, somebody should come to the office. No, because company is still not functioning with the 100% staff in their office. I don't think that will be there in future. Also, they will have this hybrid in worst case, right? So you don't need to worry about whether it is online or offline. In fact, it's a very good point that you are bringing in. Especially sitting in West Bengal. If you come to Bangalore, I always tell my students, the fee that you pay to Emergy is lesser than the fee that you pay to the hostel accommodation. Bangalore is pretty expensive, right? People in Bangalore and to get even hostel accommodation is expensive. So if you are, what I feel is, and sometimes some students comes and really bug me and say, no sir, this online mujhe nahi chalega. I really want to see a teacher in my face and then learn. I said, choice is yours. Okay. Doesn't matter whether you're sitting in West Bengal, whether you're sitting in Kashmir, whether you're sitting in Mumbai, whether you're sitting in Visakhapatnam. Doesn't matter. As long as you are following what our mentors are telling, do your assignments and projects and submit it online or physical classroom, you can get a job. Okay. I can confidently say, and even today, more than 90% of our drives are digital drives. Only 10% of the companies, I would say even 5% of the companies, asking the student to come to their office and attend the interview. Okay. So please keep it in mind. And the mode of learning also doesn't matter. Are you committed? Are you passionate? That's what matters. Hope that is clear, Shaikh.
Sir, hello sir. Can you audible? Yes sir,
Yeah,
I understand what you say.
No, guys, please type it in the chat. Let us not have an audio conversation here. Okay. Yeah, please type. I'll answer that. Okay. Then you said learn at least one hardware. Can you give me example of one? Admin, yeah, PIC would be the one which I would recommend. Okay, which we use also from the learning perspective, right? Then Mohammed Faisal says, I am very late. No problem, Mohammed. You glad that you made it to the webinar. We will share the recording also. You can replay and listen it later. Okay. Vinay, so which course is better, online or offline? As I told Vinay, I clarified Sakat's query. It purely depends on your interest. As far as we are concerned, we are fine with both. Okay, you can learn and get online learning, online placements, online certification, and online working. In fact, even working also students are doing from their home. They're not, come to, as I told the student from Kerala, he still sits at home, like how he was learning our Emergy course. He's sitting at his home and working for Qualcomm. He's not even come to Bangalore. Even his onboarding, joining, everything has happened online. The company shifted in all the laptop, everything to his home, and he's sitting at home and working. Okay, it's all happening. So yeah, Faisal, yeah, I'll record it. Recording is happening. We'll share you the recorded version. PPT also will share. No issues. Okay. Vinay says, thank you, sir. Got your answer. So what technology requirement for the online course? Surya, there's no technology requirement as such. As long as you have a decent laptop and a good internet connection, is fine. Okay. Again, when you talk about internet connection, there are some challenges where the connection may go down when, like as we are seeing, right? Some of you are dropping out and coming back. Probably the connection would have gone, and maybe I'm not audible sometimes. So what we do in our online classes, like how we are doing for the webinar, every class gets recorded. Okay, and then we have a portal where we'll give you a login. Even if you miss the class or due to either network connection or some other issues happen at your home, you can come on the next day, and then you can play the class once again. Or if you did not understand the concept clearly, right, you can come back to the next day and then play the video once again. So all our classes gets recorded. So even if you are missing due to internet connection or some other issue, or let us say that day your PC was not working properly, it didn't boot up or some issue, you can come back later and then you can very well learn it via the recorded ones. Okay. Vinay says, sir, I am Surya says, sir, like any specific PC requirement, nothing as such, Surya, as long as a decent one, and i3 and above should be good enough. Nothing major, something which is a more than that, your internet connection should be good. Then Saikat says, so you say online interview is possible. 5 to 10 companies want offline interview. Thank you, sir. Give this answer. Yes, Saikat. Okay. Companies are hiring online mode only these days. So what about course fees, sir, at your institute? Vikram. So Vikram, that would be the question for my admin team. If you have any queries about that, I think I have one. There is this, no, you can see the screen. This is my colleague Smita's number. You can note down. It's there in our website also. You can contact them. They will, answer your query related to fees, joining, etc. Then course fee, yeah. Which job portals are good for searching job in embedded engineer? Malleshwari, Singh. I don't know much idea about Malleshwari, especially the offline ones. But more than that, look for these niche ones. Especially things like HackerRank, and things like your what do you call the AMCATs and your what do you call the eLitmus, where if you have a good score, it's not about applying, right? So apply you can do anywhere, right? You can go to Naukri, Fresher World. There are lakhs and lakhs of people they're applying. You can apply. I'm sure all of you would have applied also. But the idea is getting an interview call. That's where the real problem happens, right? So rather than that, if you can build some profiles here, take some tests, get some rank from HackerRank and all, that would be more valuable, because companies are always looking for those people with those skill set and those scores. They will call you. Okay. So then I'll come down. I think almost we are closing on the question. So which job? So I think you can continue with the slides. Yeah, Harsha, that always happens. As I already told, right now it's become reverse, right? If you see, we discussed about the slide for a few minutes and went into the discussion for long. And if you see, it's already 12:30. We started around 11, right? In fact, if you ask me, this is the best part I like in my webinars, that we do less of slide, more of talk. Okay? That's a portion I enjoy. That's a portion is important for you guys also. As I told, I can send this slide. Everything will reach you. Don't worry. All the PPTs, tomorrow's resume templates, recorded videos, the PPT slides, everything will reach you. Absolutely no problem. Okay. But the idea is to have the interaction. I think it's time for us to pause here. Okay. Let me just pause the questions. Okay, I think there are a couple of them. Let me quickly see. Yeah, I will continue. Yeah, ARM 8086, does learning this helpful? Yes, Sunil, you can pick up an ARM also. That's also fine. I'm interested, sir, embedded in your company, sir. Okay, Gabbar, you can reach out to my team. I already shared the this one. Yeah. So Faisal is asking, sir, please share this session recorded on YouTube. Yes, Faisal, we will be putting it in YouTube only and share the link. You can watch it from YouTube. And in fact, if you feel this video can be helpful for your friends and who did not attend this webinar, wanted to attend but could not make it, feel free to share. Everything will reach you. Don't worry. Okay. All right. So let me go off the video and get back to our slides now. Okay. So let me resume the slide. We'll again take the questions. Don't worry. We'll come back one more time. Okay. So if you look at this session, right, largely last 1.5 hours, we have been mainly discuss about the jobs, the year of password, the percentage, etc., which will be the top of your mind, which is understandable, because that's something which is like a big rock in front of you, right? You need to move it up, push it out. That's why I spend a lot of time in that. And now what we'll do is we'll quickly move to the skill part, right? We've been talking about the jobs, but as I told, in order for you to get a job, skills are more important. In fact, the important thing, right? Let us focus on that. Okay? Because there are also queries about what is the difference between IoT and embedded, etc. So let us talk about that. So why companies continue to hire in embedded system, right? Product development is a long-term investment. When you say embedded, whether you are building it as a service model, product model, etc., end of the day you are making a device, and that's a long-term investment, right? So companies don't do 3 months, 6 months project and get out, right? People work, especially the product development ones, embedded companies, they work on a long-term investment model. They can't wait, whether pandemic come and go, right? Whether some other recession may come and go, they can't wait. They want people. Just because pandemic is not there, you cannot go and tell your boss, I cannot do my work, right? Things has to move on. And embedded and IoT skills continue to be a niche. That's a question was there in the chat saying that, sir, in my campus, core companies won't come. It's not that they don't want to come, because they can't get the skills that they're looking for, right? So that's the reason why even today, on the peak of pandemic, also last year, companies continue to hire, because the skill sets are hard to hire. Okay. Yeah, the reason is, I'll tell you a simple example, right? How hard for me to hire a Java developer versus embedded developer? Think about that. Okay. Or versus, for example, a VLSI engineer, right? It's always hard to hire a embedded engineer or a VLSI engineer compared to Java engineer, right? Because there are tons of skill available. Okay, here it's very hard, right? And as I told, digital hybrid working is here to stay. We are not going to very soon get into a scenario where 100% we all come back to office or school or college, right? It's not going to happen. It's going to be there for some more time. hopefully we are all expecting that will end soon. Things have become better, but last 2-3 days, as we said, right? So these are all the reasons why we saw companies are hiring. The question of cycle, right? Very important question of hiring online. Hiring online is there. There is no other way. Even to interview, somebody should come to office. No, they're not coming to office. How can I call you to office and interview, right? That's not happening. So you name all the tools. My students have become very used to, Skype and what do you call Zoom and Google Meet. You name anything, they already installed in their laptop because multiple companies use different tools. Okay, so that's here to stay. Okay. So let me talk about other things. A few roughly job market. We discussed this about the market size and etc. So this I will skip it little fast because these are more of statistics taken from various reports published by NASSCOM and other places. You can go through this offline. Okay, if you say in embedded how much is contributed by communication or telecom or a consumer electronic, etc. And the important part is the last bullet here in the right side. More than 7 lakhs embedded system jobs are available in the market. This I have taken from the reports published by NASSCOM, and there's something called IESA, Indian Electronics and Semiconductor Association. Okay, so these numbers are based on India, right? Globally, of course, it's way higher than 7 lakhs, right? So that's about this. Same thing. Also, IoT. Anyways, we'll talk about that shortly, right? There is also a huge hype that is happening around IoT. The reason being, today, if you look at even a manufacturing industry, let us say a company which manufactures, let us say some two-wheeler, right? They are getting digitized. In fact, next week I am giving a webinar to another set of audience. Is about how IoT is changing manufacturing, right? Okay, or what you call IIoT, industrial IoT. Okay, things are getting changed. Everything is getting digital. It's all getting technology enabled, right? And when you talk about whether it's embedded or IoT, right? They are domain independent or a vertical independent. You name anything today, it's embedded enabled. We'll talk about retail industry, right? Okay, right from the when an Amazon person delivers your packet or a courier person delivers the thing, and he takes a signature on a small device where you sign it using a stylus, right? It's nothing but a embedded technology backed by servers and storage and IoT and stuff like that. Talk about education, right? Till last year beginning, right? This education, including institute like us, where we have been in the physical thing for so long, right? It is completely driven by technology, right? Okay, so definitely education is changing a lot. People are learning online, and especially if you look at as I told about my daughter, I'm sure you'll have nephews and nieces who are in the high school range. Think about how they're adapting to the technology-based learning, and they're all having gadgets and everything to learn these days, right? Healthcare, I talked about, remote patient monitoring, etc. Logistics, agriculture, you name anything, it's all getting technology enabled, right? Now I talk about this, right? Career possibilities, something which we discussed. Let me cover this, right? Because there's a huge confusion among core job, IT job, hardware, software. So let me demystify that. Okay. So when you say embedded and IoT jobs, right? Okay, you categorize into two buckets. What are they? Software and hardware, okay, which you discussed. Let me anyways put it in the slide. Now, when you say software, again you can divide into two. Okay, you can say it's a system software or an application software. Or system software is a terminology which we used to use when we were in college, but you guys say it's a core, right? And application software, which I used to use my college days, you guys say it is IT job, right? I hope it's clear. Now, the right side one is all about chip design, the hardware, right? Which is not, we are not going to talk about that, right? Now we are talking about the system software, which is nothing but an embedded software. This can be again bucketed into two areas. One is the role, another is a domain. And it's a role, you can be a design engineer, you can be a development engineer, test engineer, blah blah, whatever 5-6 roles are there. That is what you are going to do in your job every day when you go and report in a company. Similarly, on the right side, if you see, which you call domain or vertical, whether it could be automotive, retail, the previous slide spoke about that, right? Now, here permutation combination exists. Let me quickly jump into the next slide, right? So you can be a design engineer in a consumer electronics company. Let us say you go to a phone making company. Let's say you join Huawei, and then they're making phone, and you are developing a, let us say, display driver for that. Okay, you are designing a display solution for that. Okay, that can be one combination, right? or you are going and joining a automotive company. Let us say you're joining Robert Bosch, right? In fact, in automotive, more time goes for testing because it's a critical device, right? If you imagine a car fails, right, people may lose life, right? You can be a test engineer working in an embedded domain, and you are working for an automotive vertical, right? Similarly, you can be an integration engineer in a retail. I just mentioned an example of your what do you call the courier person taking a signature at your home. He has got a small point of sale or a small handheld equipment where you sign, right? It has to be completely integrated into the backend where 5-6 pieces come together, right? You can integrate all of them. So like this, you can imagine multiple permutation and combination. My request to all of you is that not get into too much of this permutation, because when you're starting your job, you can start your job in any combination. In fact, even if you look at the drives which I mentioned in Emergy, we have companies who are hiring for the various roles which are there in the left hand side, and they all work in different verticals. In fact, I did not mention about the EV, right, electric vehicles. So it's all happening. Okay, but my request is, don't be very specific. No, sir, I want to become a design engineer in a healthcare company only. Don't be like that. Okay, that's not going to help you. But what I would say, as long as you are in an embedded domain, you get started with that. But later you can become specific. You can become an expert, let us say, becoming developing a healthcare equipment, right? Or you can become an expert in automotive. That happens after, like, say, 4-year, 5-year experience that you gain, right? So this is how the career possibilities are there for the embedded engineers. Now let me talk about skill building, right? I think this is the core part of it, right? Okay. So when you say transition, when you are doing that, I already clarified, right? One is you build a foundational skill, which is about problem solving and your, what do you call, the aptitude, basic aptitude. Then you talk about the domain skills, whether it could be embedded IoT or even for that matter web development. Then you basically build projects to showcase. But this is something which I don't see in many of you, especially the entry-level people, because people consume knowledge in various ways, whether they join an institute like us and then learn, or some of them learn online on their own, and there are tons of content available, right? You can probably go and take a course from EDX for free, right? Okay, which will help you to build 1 and 2. Okay, 1 second, guys, let me take some water. But the very important aspect is project to showcase. Okay, the point why I'm stressing the importance of project is when you demonstrate something. So unfortunately, it so happens in college that people go and buy the project from a project center and show in your final year and get some marks, right? That's not the way you build a project, right? You really take up any problem statement and build a real-time project. At least have some good number of them to showcase, because anybody can talk about I know this skill, that skill, but project showcasing is important. And finally, have a very good resume to showcase. Okay, that's what we'll talk about in tomorrow's workshop. That will be very focused on that, right? So this is about the how you build your skills, right? So let me talk about the skill set, especially the embedded stack. Then followed by that, I'll come to IoT. I could see the question from what do you call Sai Kannan, and there's some question in the previous chat also about embedded and IoT. Hang on, Kannan, I'll just come to you, right? So when you talk about embedded, this is a kind of skill set we build in our students, basically starting from fundamental of Linux, then programming part of it, then come to the core electronics part of it, which includes the microcontroller and the Linux part of it. This is more of a skill, and more important thing is what you will be able to build and showcase. The very important part is you should be able to showcase 7 or 8 projects in your resume, because that will talk louder than anything else, right? Because you can put anything in your resume. People take NPTEL courses and then tell, sir, I got NPTEL certification. Again, this huge hangama happening around certification, right? Okay, certification you can get, no problem, and I know very well how you clear your NPTEL course exams, right? Okay, so the idea is not whether you take NPTEL, whether you take EDX, whether you take something, more than taking a course and having a certificate, focus on projects. That's very, very important, right? This is about the embedded part of it, right? Okay. Now let me talk about IoT. Okay, so IoT is in many conferences also I told this story. I'm sure all of you would have heard this when you're in your childhood, right? There are 5 blind men explaining what do you call the elephant, right? they're holding on to different parts of the elephant's body. You know, some says, you know, elephant look like a pillar because he's holding on to the leg. Somebody says, you know, no, elephant looks like a snake because he's holding on to the tail of the elephant. Then say, no, elephant looks like a football, probably he's holding on to the head of the elephant, etc. Right? Let me tell you what, the 5 components are pieces of IoT. Then we'll come to the connection of IoT and embedded, right? So first and foremost thing comes into in IoT architecturally is the IoT device. So typically these devices are very small in nature. For example, let me take a use case of let us say medical monitoring. Let us say, you know, a country or a particular let us say one particular area. You wanted to monitor the health situation of, let us say, 1 lakh people, right? So what do you do in all these 1 lakh people? You make them wear some wearable device, which will be very small in nature, okay? And even sometimes you can even put a chip inside somebody's body also. That's also happening, right? So this is what you call it as an IoT device. This device is very small in nature, which will have a sensors. And what is the main job of this device? To gather the information, either by monitoring your pulse rate or your what do you call your heartbeat or your blood pressure, whatever it could be, right? It is monitoring. This is the first piece. Then what happens, assuming you are a hospital, you are, you know, there are 10 hospitals which are monitoring these 1 lakh patients, right? 1 lakh people, right? It's not possible for one hospital to monitor all the 1 lakh people. So what do you need? The next thing that comes into picture is something called IoT gateway. So what does this gateway do? Gateways aggregate multiple IoT devices and then they basically act as a bridge, right? Let us say 1 lakh patients are there, 10 hospitals are there. Each hospital will have a gateway and then they will aggregate some, let us say 10,000 IoT devices. When I'm telling a use case, you can imagine many other things you talk about, right? So now these two, if you look at IoT device and IoT gateway, they're nothing but embedded system only, where you're building a device. What is the embedded system means? It's a device, to have a very simple way to understand. Okay. So this, if you look at in an embedded, in IoT, there are some more round circles are going to come. These 2 circles are only talking about embedded aspect. Okay, 1. Now these 2 are been existing, right? If you see that way, people even comment, right? IoT is like old wine in a new bottle and stuff like that, right? Okay. So if you look at these 2, this has got to do with only the embedded aspect. Now gateway alone will not help, right? There are people like, you know, doctors, nurses who want to monitor the, you know, you cannot go and give them a chuma one device and say monitor, right? They need some interface, right? That's when all these gateways connect to a network, or what you call today your internet, and then it will come to a server, which you call it as a IoT platform, which is nothing but enabled by a cloud computing. And then finally the doctor will have an interface. That interface could be a mobile application, or it could be a simple web application, or it can be a panel, right? If you go to some big places, there can be huge boards which is lively demonstrating the patient information, right? Or it could be, let us say you want to monitor traffic situation in a particular city, or you want to control the lights, right? What do you call the street light monitoring in a particular city, right? Okay, so anywhere if you go, if you look at, right, 1 and 2 are embedded, and 3rd is the glue which connects, and 4 and 5 is more of an application, right? This is where the confusion comes from, right? So here, these 5 pieces, if you see, it's an amalgamation of so many technologies, right? Your 3 itself is a huge area, okay, which is consists of various protocols, equipments, you know, the interoperability stuff, and you know, things like that. And when you go up, you are transitioning more into computer science or an information science kind of a thing, you know, cloud computing. And 5th one is all about AI and ML comes into picture. So that way, if you see, IoT is a huge phenomenon. Now, when you talk about this, there's a 2 way to look into it. From our webinar point of view, right? To keep things simple, I would say, if you are a, you know, electronics, electrical, mechatronics engineer, you will take this view. This is what I would say. Okay, you will take this way, because your focus is mainly on the device and gateway, but you want to have some idea about cloud and application. You will not code. For example, in order to code a IoT device, you need a C programming skill. In order to do a coding in cloud, you need a Java programming skill. In order to write a data science application, you need a Python skill, right? You're not going to focus on everywhere, because it's impossible to be an expert in all the areas, let me tell you. Okay, But if you're a computer science guy, you will think the otherwise. Okay, you will more focus on the ISC or a CSC guy. He will focus on the application side of it. For him, the device or a gateway will look like a black box, right, or a gray box, black box phenomena, right? So that's how it is. So now, when you're talking about embedded as a domain, or when you talk about embedded IoT as a area, right? What is it companies are expecting? They're still expecting you to be good in core IoT skills, core embedded skills only, which I mentioned in my previous slide. But since you are building a big solution, imagine, right? You are building I have a JBL speaker with me, right? If you are building a JBL speaker versus you are building let us say healthcare example, which I talk about. Building a JBL device will only require an embedded skill, which was there in the previous slide. But when you're building a medical device, which is going to be part of the solution, what today the recruitment companies are expecting is, along with your embedded skills, okay, can you have some idea about this 3, 4, and 5? Not on a very depth level. Depth level, you focus on 1 and 2 only, because I'm talking to a larger audience of you who are electrical, EEE, or ECE, or mechatronics people only, right? They're telling 1 and 2, you need to really know how to do a coding using C, C++, whatever I shown you, but some idea about 4 and 5, so that you can integrate, get a view of it. Okay. On the contrary, there are some IoT courses, there are some IoT programs. In fact, I even hear BTech in IoT is being introduced, right? They will exclusively focus on 4 and 5. For example, they will focus on how to do a server-side programming using a Node.js, how to use a database. There are things like time series database, right? And how to build a data analytics solution on top of it using Python, NumPy, whatever the latest words that you can think of. That is a completely different. So even if you are planning to apply for a job in IoT industry, people are looking for you to hire for your embedded skills only. Please be very clear. They're not going to hire you by checking Java. If at all they want to do, they will do it with a computer science engineer, right? Who will have, and don't think you will build expertise in all the 5. As I told, that is impossible. Okay, so you be very good in 1 and 2, that is embedded, and have some idea about 4 and 5, where you can integrate and then showcase the complete solution. Okay, so hope this is clear. Sai Kannan, and there is a question from I don't know, the log has went up. First of all, is it clear? Am I making it clear between IoT and embedded IoT, where it comes from? Can I get some responses, guys? If you want some more time, I can spend. Okay, Harsh says yes. Can I get some more responses? Okay, all right. So this picture, please take a screenshot and keep it, because there is a lot of confusion going on. Okay, people talk whatnot. Okay, and as I told you, as a electronics engineer, you only focus on 1 and 2 with some idea about 4 and 5. What do you mean by some idea about 4 and 5? That's my next slide. Okay, because we also do an IoT course. Okay, so where we see, if you look at this particular thing also, right? If you see here, we still do C programming, which was there in our previous embedded course also. We still do microcontroller programming here also. And instead of teaching you Linux internals, here we do Python and IoT gateway using Raspberry Pi. Okay, that's the only difference. As I told, don't get too fascinated whether you are bothered about Arduino or Raspberry Pi, which I already clarified. Okay, that's the only difference. Plus, since companies are expecting to have some idea about 4 and 5, we teach you some basics about IoT architecture, setting up IoT workflows, and then take any one popular cloud, because today IoT cloud is built by almost all the companies. Your Microsoft has their own IoT cloud, Amazon has got their own cloud, right? Can you, and creating a developer login is anyways free, and even open source has got their own cloud, right? IoT cloud, okay, or platform, right? Can you integrate your embedded into IoT cloud? But still our 80-90% of the focus is on the embedded side only. Okay, but and our output also remains pretty much the same. Okay, can you do this with some little bit of more protocol exposure, little bit about how to use this platform? Suppose I give you a device, how do you integrate with the Amazon cloud? When you touch a button in a particular embedded device, can I show something in my cloud? Red is becoming green or green is becoming red. Can I show that? That's all they expect. Okay, but the core thing remains the same. They are hiring you even if tomorrow you go and join a company. Let us say I have a let me go to the previous slide, which is very important, right? I am hiring 2 people. Assume I am an IoT company. Okay, I am hiring an electronic engineer. I will give him a job in circle number 1 and 2. Whereas if I am hiring a computer science guy, I'll ask him to work in 4 and 5. But you guys should collaborate, right? Because you are building the same solution. You need to know something of that side. That guy should know something of this side. That's all. So don't go too much jazzy around this IoT. Okay, there's a lot of people confused. People put so many complex terminologies. But this slide is what matters to you, and your focus. Since suppose I'm talking to a computer science guy, right? I will probably take 4 and 5 and go to the skill set of what they need to require there, right? I'm not talking to you guys are ECE electronics guys. You focus on 1, 2, and some idea of 3, 4, and 5. Okay, which is what this particular slide spoke about. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So let me move on. I think we're kind of coming to a closure. Where to start? Yeah, I think there's also questions. All these things are fine and clear about the job market, clear about the skill set. 2 pieces we discussed so far. Then comes the third one, where and how to start. First and foremost thing, please start using Linux. Okay. Windows is not the platform to learn embedded systems. Okay. Install Linux in your laptop. You can use VirtualBox and then install. There are tons of online material available. In fact, we also share a lot, but unfortunately, we have something called Technical Resource Library, which is we migrated to a new website late last year, and still the technical resource library is still not gone online. We are hoping to bring it up by end of March, right? But nevertheless, you can start using Linux. That's the first step. Second thing I already reiterated multiple times, learn one programming language very well. And for you guys, I any day recommend C. Okay. And if you really want to focus one more, focus on C++ or Python. Okay, that's it. No need to, but 80-90% focus on getting into the details, right? Third one, build 3 to 4 projects minimum. As I told you, it's not about learning things. It's about demonstrating your capability to the company. I can come tomorrow and say, I know Japanese, right? What would you say? Speak 2 lines in Japanese, right? Or I can come and tell, I have a certification in Chinese, right? What will you say? Okay, can you write one essay in Chinese, right? As simple as that. Okay. So your very important thing, this often people underrate the step number 3, because they say, I obtain certification and I'll get a job. No, certifications are good. It is a necessary condition, but not sufficient enough to get you a job. Okay. Fourth one, create an impressive resume. Tomorrow's focus would be that. Okay, we'll talk about the common mistakes, what you guys do, and how to build an impressive resume. This is what you should be doing. Now, how we can help? One is what we do as a broader thing, right? Especially after the pandemic has set in, we are reaching out on a very regular basis via these workshops by sharing the materials. One, as I told, one unfortunate thing is like still our resource library is not up. Otherwise, I will share the link and you can download a lot of materials, sample code, projects. Also, we have tons of things available. But hope by end of March we'll have something up and running there. Resume building and templates. So tomorrow we'll share you how to write the resume. Because 90% of the information what you mention in your resume is useless for any company. Okay, I'll talk about it more in tomorrow's workshop. Anyway, some contents are there in YouTube, these with Disha videos, and some more are there. You can just go to YouTube, search our channel, and especially this recording anyways I'll share via email. My team will be getting to you. And fourth one, by now I'm sure you would realize we plan for 1 hour webinar. Naturally it becomes 2 hours, right? Okay, 11 o'clock sharp, 11:05 we started. It's already 12:52. Okay, majority of our value add comes from our interaction. The slide will remain the same. Okay, so that's what I pretty much I had with you guys, right? And then some of you are asking some queries. Okay, if you still have queries and all, you can reach out to my colleague Smita, or just drop a mail at training@emerzi.com. Even if it's a technical query, it will reach me and my technical team, and our technical team will try to answer that. Any specific queries technically that you have, whether it is related to the course or not, doesn't matter, right? Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, so let me see some questions here. So Vaishnavi says, sir, if you want to place in 1 and 2 section, which one is that? Embedded, either IoT or embedded. So if you are want to have 1 and 2 only, okay, Vaishnavi, okay, if you are, let me go back to the previous slide. That would be much more. By the way, quiz is waiting, guys. Don't drop off. We will announce some winners also. Let me go back to the slide. Yeah. See, 1 and 2 is only about embedded system domain. But when you talk about 3, 4, and 5, it becomes embedded IoT or IoT. So if you want to get into an IoT industry broadly, focus on the IoT skill set. If you're only bothered about the embedded industry, focus on the 1 and 2. In fact, please note, your embedded is part of the broader IoT. You know, if you draw a circle, it's a Google Meet. I don't know how to use this one. So your IoT is a bigger circle, and your embedded is a one smaller circle in that. Okay, you can focus on that. Oh, that's clear, Vaishnavi. Okay. Can you slow the last slide once again? Yeah, I hope this is what you're talking about, admin. Okay, the skill set. So IoT skill set. Okay, let me talk about the IoT skill set here. Yeah, this is the IoT skill set which I mentioned. You can see the core aspect remains the same. Plus, there are some exposure about the platform and security and all, just to give you a better perspective. Okay. Then any feedback form available to send recorded videos to your mails. So Vikram, don't worry, if you are registered, your email IDs are already with us. Anyways, I'll for the quiz, we will open up the form. There also you can submit your email ID. Since you guys already registered, all the registered participants, even if they're not come to today's webinar, we will send out all the materials, including this recorded video. Okay, no need to worry. But still, if you not got it, you can mail to this ID which I showed you, the training at Immersive. Okay. All right, so that's it, guys. So let me move on to question. Hope I did not sound like Viru Sahasrabuddhi, right? Hope the information was shared was useful to you. Can I get some feedback? How did you find the session before I open the quiz for you guys? Okay. Raja says, okay, direct vision. Okay, useful. Okay, very informative. Thanks. Okay, thank you, guys. Okay. So please feel free to type in any questions that you have. In the meantime, let me open the quiz link for you guys today. So today is a career quiz. Okay, tomorrow we'll do a quiz on resume also based on the workshop. Okay, so let me copy paste this link here in the window. Okay, so here is a link in the chat window. You can click here. It's a simple Google form. You can fill it up. I will keep it open for next 2 hours or so. Based on what you learned so far. And if you're one of the winner, again our team will reach out to you. They will collect your photographs and we will put in our social media also. You can also share it in your wall and post it to your friends that I won a quiz from Immersive. Okay, whatever it may be. Okay, all right. So Vignesh is asking, in Linux, what will I learn? Okay. Again, okay, Raja is also asking about the Linux, right? See, Linux is also again a very, very vast topic. Okay, so let me go back to my slide and talk specifically more about Linux. Let me go here, right? Okay. Hope the embedded skills. Okay. So if you see in embedded course, we teach Linux at 3 levels. If you talk about this, first one is what you call Linux systems, which is nothing but a level 1. Where we teach you about how to use Linux. In fact, if you see in my thing also, we say first thing is to start using Linux as a user. Okay, so which is about how to use commands, how to write some basic shell scripting, how to use an editor, how to use a compiler. Because the reason why I say use Linux is because you have been using mouse. When I say Windows, you are using mouse than a keyboard. Okay, Linux is a command line driven operating system, which you will get used to it. So that's what we do it at Linux systems, or I would say when you're starting up, this is more of more like a level 1. Okay, level 1 you can say. Okay, this is a foundational thing when you're starting up. Best book to learn Linux basics, Raja, I won't recommend any book. Okay, go to any Linux online tutorial, learn things hands-on. Come out of this world of reading from books. Okay, get into Linux, install Linux in your Linux in your PC. Get into YouTube. There are tons of YouTube available, videos available, and then you can start learning one. Okay? Then once you are done with that, then you go to level 2, okay, which is nothing but Linux internal networking, where you start, basically running more into Linux system calls, how to write protocols using socket programming, etc. So that's about level 2. Then you come to third level, which is nothing but when I mentioned Linux runs in watches to PC to servers, right? The reason is because it is customizable, right? That's what you do it at level 3, where you talk about how to compile the kernel, for a specific hardware like ARM. That's what you do. Please note, even when I put level 1 plus level 2 plus level 3, okay, it will hardly cover 5 to 10% of Linux, because Linux is so vast. That's why I get really funny when people say, I know Linux. I know Linux is not a valid statement, because you never know Linux. Okay? Then subsequently, once you people start working, right? When I mentioned initially, we even train people who are experienced. They come with, let us say, skills like device drivers. They come with skills like, for example, embedded Android, and for example, Linux debugging itself is a huge topic. Okay, so I would say you start with level 1. By installing Linux in your machine, start practicing basic commands. Then you can transition to level 2 and level 3. But at least as far as the jobs are concerned, if you're at level 3 in embedded, that's more than enough. Okay, that's about Linux. And as I said, level 3 is just a 5-10% of overall Linux. Okay? You can go on and on and on, and things are still keep changing. Okay, hope that is clear. Because don't use a generic word called Linux. Talk Linux in terms of levels. Hope that's clear, Vignesh and Raja. Okay. So okay, yeah. Quiz done, sir. Okay, Vikram says. Okay, thanks, Vikram. I'll take few days to evaluate your quiz answers. My team will reach out and announce the winners also. Watch out for our Instagram, Facebook feeds where we publish the winners. Okay. Any other questions, guys? I can answer. Instagram link. Okay. Vishaka, are you there? Can you share our folks with? I don't have it in my this thing. I think it's Emerzi IT, if I'm not wrong. So I'll say Emerzi Instagram. Yeah. I think, yeah, this is the link. Yeah, this is Emerzi IT, and that's how we say. Instagram is this. I think in Facebook, we are in something like facebook.com/Emerzi, not IT, only Emerzi you can type to access our Facebook page. I think, yeah, that's where people would have got reached to us, right? Okay. And we have any PG hostels available nearby institute? Yes, I can. Lots of options available. In fact, when people come and take our physical courses, we do give some of the nearby hostels where we gather, so that people can visit all these options and then take the accommodation where you like. There are a lot of options available, and it's it's the center of the city. Tons of options available. No need to worry. Once you please get in touch with Smita, our admission team. They will share you more details. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Or if say no questions, at least type no questions. At least I'll know we have answered all the queries. Have you started taking the quiz? Okay, no questions. Sri Kauri, Challa Sri Kauri. Okay. Have you started? Okay. She says she's completed the quiz. Okay, great. Okay. I'll look into it later. All right, folks. MTech would be a good option. Harsha Singh. Harsha, a lot of MTech guys are also. In fact, I have a very sad story about MTechs, right? Okay. Just by you getting a qualification in MTech, MTech will only add you to the degree from a graduate to a postgraduate, and it will add you more. You would have studied more exams and more lab exams. That's all. It doesn't add much into your skill. Focus on the skill building. Okay, what is the difference between BTech and MTech today? BTech guys know how to clear 50 exams. MTech guys know how to clear 70 exams. That's all. You have become expert in clearing exams and which chapter to study, which material to refer. We never focus on skill building. That's why we are attending this particular webinar, right? Okay, focus on skill building. Okay, you can always obtain MTech later, not a problem. Rather, I'll say install Linux in your machine, start practicing some commands, start writing some code, yeah, do that. Don't write it in notebook. Take a Linux program, Linux OS, type a 10-line C program, compile and run. You will understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Get hands-on. All right, guys. Anything else that I know it's lunchtime. It's about exactly 2 hours since we started. All right. I think it was a very interactive session. Thanks a lot for asking so many questions. As always, that's a fun part we always enjoy. So wish you all the best. I will announce the quiz results. My team will start evaluating, and I'll also take a look how well you guys have answered. The result should be out in another 2-3 days. Give us some time, because tomorrow also this workshop. So people who are there in the call, so please, tomorrow's link, I hope it is available with all of you. We will start the resume prep. Tomorrow's session will be more focused. I'll only talk about resume and probably connect some of the points that we discussed today. And then, we will also share you some templates, and also there's a quiz for tomorrow also. So hope tomorrow we'll be able to see most of you. And in case some of your friends missed out today, please request them to join tomorrow. And as I already told, materials, recording, everything will reach you. Okay. So thank you very much, guys, and all the best to all of you. Hope I can see most of you tomorrow again. So let me stop sharing. Probably I'll keep the chat for a few more minutes. If you still have questions, I can answer some more questions. Okay. Yeah, recording will reach you. Don't worry. All the recording material, everything will reach. Yeah, today's recording, tomorrow's recording. Tomorrow I'll do the workshop. After that, my team will compile the quiz results, certificates. It'll take a few days for us, but be rest assured it will reach via email. Okay, the complete package will reach you. I think I'll stop recording now. What will be the winners of the quiz? Nothing here, Harsha. You will publish you in the social media. Okay, we try to ship some goodies because